This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to Why Is Everyone Yelling with Lindsay Hine. I'm your host Lindsay, and I am so grateful you're here today. Today you're listening to episode 73, and my guest is Keli Reese. Keli has a heart for helping mothers replace anxiety and guilt with fulfillment and joy. She is the mom to 5. She recently went back to work teaching. She is an educator. She teaches 5th grade. But she spent, I think she said it was 11 years home with her kids. And so she has been doing the teaching thing again for 2 years now. And so we get to hear about that transition. And Keli also shares with us about choosing joy in her life, even in the hard times, how she handled motherhood when it wasn't necessarily what she thought it would be, and also when she didn't really like those baby years. You know, you can be a mom and not really be into babies and toddlers. That's a thing. Doesn't mean you don't love your kids. And Keli will speak that truth into your life. We also talk about boundaries and what that looks like with raising kids and how she sets boundaries, but also has a lot of fun with her kids as well. This was a really fun episode. Keli is full of joy, and you will hear that from the very first 2 minutes of the conversation. If you do love this conversation, please consider leaving us a rating and review on iTunes or Spotify, sharing it with your friends, sending the link to the episode to any of your parent friends who might be interested. We're really working hard to grow this show because we believe that there's a lot of important information in it and that it can provide a great community of support for other people walking through parenthood. So helping us by leaving a rating and review or sharing it is just one of the simplest ways you can be a part of that. So thanks for listening today. I really hope you enjoy my conversation with Keli Reese. All right. Well, today on Why Is Everyone Yelling, we have Keli Reese on the show. Welcome to the show, Keli.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. You know, Indianapolis, shout out.
Yes.
I'm originally from Indianapolis, so it's fun to follow you and kind of get glimpses of it a little bit through your Instagram.
It hasn't changed.
Are you from Indy, though, originally?
I'm originally from Indianapolis, born, raised, went to Ball State, so I stayed in Indiana. I've lived out of state for 4 years. So for 4 years, my husband and I were living in Birmingham, Alabama. So from 2012-ish to about 2016, we were there. But other than that, this is home.
Okay. Keli has 5 kids, and she had 5 kids in 5 years.
I did.
Can we just start there?
We can unpack that. Listen, so what I'm most often asked is, number one, are there any multiples?
Uh-huh.
And no, there are not any multiples. Currently, our children I have Kenneth, who is 15, Cameron, who is 14, Kennedy, who is 12 and some change, Kylan, who is 11, and Chloe, who is 9, but getting ready to turn 10. So basically between 10 to 15. We have no multiples. The second thing people want to know is, did you guys plan it that way? No. This was not our plan. If you were to tell me I'm going to have 5 kids, I would be like, oh, okay. If you were to tell me I was going to have 5 kids in 5 years, I would be like, not me, because I don't do babies. I don't do spit up and just, all that. But it was obviously, I'm a woman of faith. I believe it was God's plan for us, and it's the best fit for us, right? Definitely not in my scope. Didn't think that was happening. And then people want to know, are you guys going to have any more? And So no, I don't have any multiples. No, this was not planned. And we're going to stick with that rolling no. No, we're not planning to have any more. But we're very grateful for our five.
We have four and they're not as close as yours, but I mean, my oldest was 6 when our fourth was born, and the first two were a little bit more work to happen. So with the second two, it was like, well, we're not going to prevent, we're just going to see what happens. And they just came much quicker. And then when we got to the fourth, it was way sooner than I was ready. And I was just like, after him, I was like, all right, we can't play this like, we're just going to see what happens game anymore.
Right. Totally understand that. Totally understand.
So let's talk about what you just said there, though. You were like, I'm not a baby spit up person. So like for 5 years, actually more like 7 or 8 years, because I really feel like until your youngest is 3, right? You're like in baby, toddler, like everything is dangerous mode.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that season of your life, because, man, there are a lot of people listening right now. They might have one kid in that phase and they're losing their minds. Doesn't matter how many kids you have. I know it's hard. So let's talk about you being a person that like that did not feel natural and not feel like your thing, and what that part of your life looked like.
Yeah, I love to share. When I had our firstborn, I didn't know until later that my best friends around me had planned this. Okay, you'll be with her at this time. You'll be with her at this time. Because they did not even trust me with babies. I'm a whole married woman. They were like, but Keli doesn't know what she's doing. That's how much I was not a baby person. That even when the child was here, they was like, who's going to help her? And so I often say, the tools that I needed during that time, like I believe God gave me those tools during that time, because even now, if you were to hand me a baby, I would feel a little, I just uncomfortable. I don't know. But yeah, babies, the spit up, all the things that come with baby. I love children. I'm a children's person, right? So I'm an educator by trade. I love children. When they're walking and talking, that's my vibe. So here I am in this season that's not my vibe. This season that is not natural for me to love, but yet I'm naturally an upbeat person. I'm naturally a loving person. So there was this tension with my feelings, right? Like I know how I'm supposed to feel about this, and I know how I feel about other things. Why don't I have this ooey gooey? I just love it. When it comes to the small kids, okay? just that season. And it was tough. Again, just knowing what I was supposed to feel like and not feeling that way, and then feeling bad about it. Not realizing that my children I love deeply, and I always have. But the tasks, the constant pulling, the touching, the sounds, just that are just simply overwhelming at times, right? Because it's nonstop. That's what I was struggling with, and not struggling with loving my children, but rather struggling with how do I operate in this season. And when I began to separate that, I'm like, okay, now I need systems in place, etc. Instead of I must be a bad person. Right? Because if I start thinking I'm not a great mother because I don't love these things, then that's a different issue to deal with. But when I realized it's the things, I need a system in place. So that was definitely like, now I feel like I'm dating myself, but when my oldest was little, and where we were living, there were not a lot of mom's day out programs. In fact, the ones that were nearest us were about 25 to 30 minutes away, and they were very expensive. And here I am. I've just come home from a full time, like we just don't have that type of. So I was with my children every day, all day. There was never a drop off point until my oldest went to kindergarten. So when he was home, like my oldest, it was 5. I had a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn, and so it was tough. But again, learning to separate and to really see the issue and not internalize that as me being a bad person. That's when I began to really view motherhood through the lens in which I believe it should be viewed. That's when I began to experience, or not experience the joy, because I've had the joy, but really living it out when things are tough.
Yeah.
When things are tough.
Yeah, well, and first of all, like regardless of what job you have, if you have 5 children that would need to be in daycare, I,
Right.
that's like $7,000 a month
A month. Easy.
with
Easy.
5. Yeah,
Easy.
depending on where you live.
hmm so that was the thing. It was just like,
Oh,
yeah. And I tell people, just especially when people look at me, they're like, how do you do it with 5? I can't even do it with 2, I only have.
yeah.
I'm like, no, whoa, 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 whoa. However many children you have is the weight, right? So there is no such thing as I only have one. That one is a whole human. That whole human has needs. You're gonna feel pulled, etc. The hardest season for me is when I had 2.
Mm.
That was the hardest season for me. A, they were 14 months apart, but B, I had to learn how to divide my energy and coordinate 2. That was, so anytime I see a mother with 2, my heart is automatically bent toward them. Like, are you okay? Are you okay? Kind of a thing. But regardless if it's 1, 2, 5, a friend of mine has 7 children. Children, you know, they require some energy. There's so much love, there's so much fun, there is so much, so many positive things. But they also require a lot from
Yeah.
us.
I know that's such a common question too. Like, what was the hardest transition for you? Like 0 to 1, 1 to 2. And oftentimes I say 0 to 1, but if we're talking about adding kids, I think for me it was 2 to 3 because
Yeah.
there just weren't enough. I felt like I didn't have enough hands to keep everybody safe or whatever it may be. What do you like? I think that even now I'm in a pretty sweet spot. Like youngest is 3, oldest is 9. Man, this big kid stuff is really fun, Like it's
Yes.
so fun. But there are still moments, especially with my little ones, where I get the touched out. Like,
hmm
for the love, stop touching me. Like, stop touching me. And I just need, like, go away. Do you have any, like, strategies for handling the overtouched?
My strategy, well, I tell people to stop touching me. And then I exit. I
I
exit.
exit. I like it.
You don't even have access to me because I'm gone.
Yep.
So that door is closed, and I tell them, for your good, you stay on that side. I'm gonna stay on this side. I'll be back. Like, that's the thing. And I honestly, I had to teach my children at a very young age because I know myself well enough to know things that I need. I need sleep,
Mm.
and I know when I need space.
Mm.
So even when they were young, I knew how to show them, hey, when this door is closed, hey, when you see this is how we operate. So I had to establish that really young because the touching part, and for me personally, I have a lot of friends who, like, that is their primary love language.
Mm.
It's not mine. It is not mine. And so and I realized this about myself. I love to hug people, and I'm a huge hugger. And then I realized, yeah, because I get to control it. Like,
Mm.
I get to come to you and hug you, and I'm going to embrace you. But how do I feel when someone is pulling on me and my response isn't quite as, eh? So I noticed that about myself. Yo, Kelly, people touch. It's okay. But just knowing that my boundaries as well, because I never want my children to feel like they can't. Right. So it was just like, hey, when this door is shut, this door is shut. I'm on the other side of it. I have not left the house. I'm just on the other side of this bedroom door. Leave it closed. But I had to do that. I had to establish we had some pretty tight boundaries. In fact, when the kids were that age I was telling you about, newborn to 5, we were living in a 1,400 square foot house,
Ooh.
3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and it was an older home, and the doors did not have locks inside the house, I should say.
Yeah.
So they could any door they could very easily open. And so that's what it was for me that made me have to teach them. I don't care if you can turn it, don't turn that knob, unless there's blood, vomit, or fire.
Yep.
Those are our big 3, but I had to teach them that just even by the very physical setup, the physical environment, I guess I should say, that we were in, that there would have been no boundaries otherwise. So tight boundaries, I will express how I feel. And I teach them to do the same thing too. Like, just even when it comes to, I can tell one of my kids is visibly sad. Hey, what's going on? Nothing. Mm-mm. You're not allowed to say nothing. You can say, I don't want to talk about it, but you can't say nothing.
Mm.
So just teaching them, hey, here's just that tough stuff kind of a thing. But I demonstrated, and all that to say, when I'm touched out, they know.
I'm
We're
super,
honest in our house.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm super curious. You seem like you run a tight ship, but a fun ship. Like,
Yeah.
that's the vibe I get from following you. Like, I feel like you bring the fun with your kids, but also, like you mentioned, they know the boundaries.
Absolutely. And that is how I operate. Before I even had kids, and as I was a teacher, I had a parent say to me, "You know what? I like you because you're firm and
Mm-hmm.
you're fun." And I was just like, "Yeah, I am." Because that's just kind of how I am. So the boundaries are very tight and clear. And within those boundaries, there's freedom. That's how you have the
Yeah.
fun. I can't just operate on don't. Once we're inside this boundary, we can, yeah, there's going to be freedom there. Um,
How did you get
yeah,
there though? Because I struggle with that, and I try to not over research all the parenting stuff and just kind of like, you know, follow my instincts as a human and a mother. But I've researched all this like positive parenting, and sometimes it's just a little too woo woo for me. It's a little too like, just too soft, and
yeah.
my kids don't respond. I want a parent with firm and kindness, but I have this like hard time setting those strong boundaries while being firm and being kind. It's hard.
Yeah, and I think it's hard because the firm part doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
That's often when that mom guilt steps in, like you are too mean, or your kids are going to be angry, or your kids are not going to like you, or your kids are going to have a very poor childhood that they're going to have to recover from. It's in that firm.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with the firm is that firm is firm.
Mm.
Like it is simply firm and it doesn't feel good, but it's for their good,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just accepting that feeling of, ew, and then watching it over time work, because your kids are, well, I don't know about your kids. My kids aren't, they're not excited and loving and hugging me when things are firm. They're accepting it, but they're not like, thank you so much for that boundary. Mom, you're awesome. They don't do that. They operate within the boundary and then they see the freedom that happens while I'm in it. So it's kind of like that. The firm doesn't feel good. And as moms and as nurturers and as caregivers, we want not only the best for our kids, but we want to always feel our best and we want them to feel their best. And so when I don't feel good about a firm boundary, or I see that they're not going to be excited about this firm boundary, then that's going to cause me to go, well, let me loosen up a little bit so
Mm-hmm.
that everybody's feeling okay, except for me. Now I'm losing it because there
Right.
are no boundaries, etc. And so, or then on the opposite, like, okay, so I've got a softer approach, but this isn't quite working, and so it can be a lot of how we feel in our home. And so now I will say this, every mother is the best, most mothers, every mother, when I say this, is the best mother for their child. Right. So you're going to read some parenting advice and look at this particular way, and you're going to apply it to your child the way that fits best in your home.
Mm.
So the framework is set, and then you have that freedom within there to go, okay, I know the bend of my child. And that's why, if anything, I want moms to know you have the freedom to be the best mom for your mom that you can be. Your motherhood journey is going to look different. Even within my 5, I parent them differently.
Mm.
Within the 5, I parent them differently, and I have the freedom to do that. One of the things that social media has done, we know it causes us to compare. Yeah, we feel that, but it also causes us to question. Am I doing this right? Because their highlight reel shows what they get. When truth be told, it's like we get the full picture of what's happening. You will see that you are going to do right by your children. They're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. And it may not look exactly like, but again, if you find like a technique or something that you like, great, grab it and adopt it for your home, and make it fit. But all that to say, firm is not fun. Firm works when not taken to the extreme. So I'm not domineering, but boundaries are necessary. And let me tell you this too, as an educator, when the child comes in a room and there's boundaries in my room that you're not used to having,
Ah.
oh, it's a rude awakening. It's a rude awakening because I'm like, so you don't have any boundaries. Okay, well, let me teach you something. But it opens their eyes to the real world. I think there is a dangerous, because it can go too far, but there's a dangerous mindset that says if I create boundaries for my child, then they're going to not think for themselves. Like there's this negative connotation to it. So I'm going to allow them to choose everything. Well, with the even the development of a child, children are not designed to choose everything. That's why they have us.
Yes.
So yeah, red shirt or blue shirt, but not, you want to go to the dentist? Oh, you don't?
Oh.
Just sorry. But I don't know. Somebody might have said sorry if that's you. But anyway, but it's just firm in a healthy way. May not even feel good for us, but it can work for their good.
Gosh, those are all like such good points. And I think that is why you're like, just let them do it. Like, I don't want to deal with, it's really what it boils down to is you don't want to deal with what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to deal with the pushback. It's like this constant teeter-totter of like, you just want peace in your house, right?
Yep.
But
and
the boundaries are
to
going to create,
Mm-hmm.
the boundaries are going to create the peace, but it's like managing those emotions when you stick to your guns.
Yeah. And the counterintuitive reality is that there's freedom with boundaries.
Yeah, that's so good.
There really is. There is.
Well, and I love all that you said too, because it is so true. I mean, I have learned some amazing techniques with just like when my kids fight and things like that, and navigating that from different parenting experts in like the positive parenting world. But I don't buy into everything they teach. But the things like you said that I've clung to, like clung, is that a word?
It's about to be.
We've made it one. It's significantly helped my life. But when I started this podcast, it's like, I don't want to get on here and say, do this, not that, do this, not that. This is, but I just want to give people tools. Yeah. So that they can be like, okay, this might work for me. This might be helpful. Maybe this isn't for me. And so I love what you're saying. Like, take what works and use it for your personal, unique family.
Yes. And trust yourself enough to know you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Like the very fact that you are trying to find an answer says, I am doing what's right by my child.
Yeah.
And we have to remember as moms to give ourselves credit for that. I'm the best mother for my child, and let that sit.
Hey friends, a quick break here. I don't know if you have a place where you get your multivitamins, but if you do not, and you find yourself walking through the Target aisle like, what brand even works? What brand is credible? What brand has clinically effective products? Well, I have an answer for you, and that's Previnex. I have been working with Previnex for 2 years now, and I take their multivitamins. My kids take their Super Vites. That's their kids' chewable multivitamin. And we use their protein powder as well. I use it in water. I just shake it up after a workout. And we also make smoothies with it. They have a new product on their line. It's called the Immune Health Plus, which is an innovative everyday immune health support. It's clinically formulated to enhance your immune system's ability to adapt and react to your unique immune system needs. They've been working on this product for over 2 years. I actually watched a 20-minute webinar about it, and it's legit. The cool thing about Previnex too is they believe so deeply that their products are effective. If you do not see results within 30 days, they will give you your money back. I highly recommend checking out their multivitamins, supplements, and definitely check out the new Immune Health Plus. Okay, so here's the deal. If you have not shopped with them before, use the code Lindsay15. That will save you 15% off your order. If you've already used that code, you've already tried their protein powder or their multivitamins, and you want to try Immune Health Plus and still get the 15% off, you can use the code Immunity15. That's Immunity15, and that will save you 15% off the Immune Health Plus for a limited time. Go check it out. Previnex.com, code Lindsay15 if you're a first-time purchaser, or Immunity15 if you want to try out the Immune Health Plus and you've already used that first code. All right, friends, back to my conversation with Keli. Okay, let's talk about this exuberant joy that you have. I think of 3 words when I see you come up on your Instagram stories, and you should do it more often, by the way. Every time you pop up and you're like, hey, I'm like, yeah, because you bring joy, you bring encouragement, and you bring love. And I feel that from you, which is why I wanted to interview you.
Thank you.
That's a choice, though.
Right.
Talk about that. Like, you choose your joy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Naturally, I am an upbeat person, so I never want to act like that's not there. However, however, there is a conscious decision to when you're talking about choosing joy, because I'm in this, I understand joy and happiness differently. Happiness being very circumstantial, joy being within. So even in the toughest of circumstances, choosing to have joy for me starts in my faith. And so as I trust God to handle the situations that I'm dealing with, even when it hurts, even when there's pain, there's this supernatural joy that happens simply because I'm choosing to not rest my hope in the circumstances. And so, yeah, I may be upbeat, but upbeat can't take you through life. It just cannot.
No.
On a practical standpoint, when my kids were little, and even now, I would make sure to find something to laugh about, and I would document it sometimes in a journal, but just a lot of times on social media. So just like they said this thing or that thing. And just the other day, I was telling my husband, I am so glad I did that, because every day I have a memory from 10 years ago of something that my children did or said. And if I only looked at my memories, you would think that was the most perfect time, that it was all good, all funny, all fun, because I chose to just document that one thing. So, but the difference is some people like to give this ideal, like this is my whole life. And I'm like, no, and it may not necessarily be true, but no, it would be something true, something small, but I would document it. And just by way of Facebook, I get a reminder of something just every day. And so that's when I think about joy. The love is also a choice, because love is an action. You know, as we think about love, we think about the feeling, but love, a true sacrificial love, is an action. In order for me to operate from the guys, or not even the guys, just having the internal motivation of love, it's got to be seen. You know, it's in the doing and embracing that concept instead of this is how I feel. No, this is what I'm choosing to do. And the encouragement piece is so interesting that you say that, because when I first began blogging, and this was truly a blog, 10 years ago, I remember shaking as I was just kind of typing the part of the story that I'm like, this doesn't feel good. But as a mom, yeah, and just kind of sharing the full picture. And so many women responded like, wow, you what kind of a thing, that encouragement piece kind of came along as I was simply telling my story, you know. So just like you, I'm like, I don't want to have like 3 things to do to be a great mom. 1, 2, 3. I'm just sharing my story. And then women began to connect with it. And I'm thankful to God to be an encouragement, because again, as I'm in the trenches kind of typing it out, I mean, everything, potty training, kids fighting, all the things, and women being encouraged by that, I'm like, oh, that is not of me. None of it is of me. But it's just interesting that you said that, because I was just like, what if I share this part? What will they think of me? And it was actually the opposite. Women were just attracted.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? It's like, it's almost like as a parent, it's a comfort to see like when someone else's kid does something crazy, because you're just like,
yes.
Oh, I'm not alone. Like,
yes.
I just posted this picture of my kids through all these like little tiny rubber bands all over the house.
I saw
Did you see that?
Went, oh,
yeah.
My goodness.
And it's just like, it just makes you like realize, okay, their house is a mess too, or whatever. And so many times too, I've always been like, I have 4 really healthy kids. Like, I'm so grateful. Yes. And so I never want to come off as complaining, but it's just like you want to display what's truly happening.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is the truth in it. And on my perspective, I want to show the truth and then also give the hope.
Yeah.
Because we get also lost in the truth and be like, woe is me.
Yes.
I want to show you that I want to offer you hope as well.
Give us the hope. What's the hope?
For me.
They're going to grow up. It's also sad though, because you're like, don't leave.
I've never said don't leave.
Okay, you were the second mom that I was like, well, your kids haven't left the house yet, but I interviewed a mom, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and I was like, are you sad though? Because like they've got one foot out, one foot in, they're about to leave, and she was like, I am not sad.
Mm. I'm not. I I used to question like my motherhood because even on the first day of kindergarten, when everybody's all, I wasn't like kicking him out the door, but I was just like, this is exciting. Like this is the next thing.
Yeah.
So it was another mom friend of mine, who has those same feelings. Like, all right, on to the next, on to the next. And she has 7. And so I was just like, I need to make sure I stay connected with women who have multiple children because it's a
Yeah.
different thing,
Sure.
you know, not that one is better or the other, but it's like when always got somebody coming up next, it is almost celebratory that next step happens. Not that I'm pushing, I do not want my children launched any earlier than they need to be, but I'm also not lingering. I'm not holding on. I want to prepare you. I want to love you so that I can launch you well into this world. But I don't get sappy. And I honestly used to feel bad about it. Like there'd be times I'm like, I'm supposed to be crying right now.
I know, like my
I'm
best
not.
friend, she like when her youngest off to kindergarten, she was like, I just need the day. Like she's very like, but I wonder because my youngest hasn't gone yet. Your youngest is what, 10?
Yeah, she'll be 10.
Will I be? I get a little bit weepy. I think I get a little more emotional than what you described. But I wonder if I will be super sad when it's my last.
And right, you know what? And those are things too, because I won't have someone underneath
Right.
to, yeah, that is very real. I'll tell you when I get there.
Because it's like when my first two, my third will go to kindergarten next year, but when my first two went to kindergarten, I was so overwhelmed with the little boys, like my youngest ones, that like I just like couldn't hardly breathe enough to think about being sad.
Yeah.
I mean, when my oldest went to first grade and my second went to pre-K, we were at IPS, and so they did full day pre-K, which I was like, thank you, Jesus, like so
Yeah.
happy. I just like couldn't even process those emotions because I had a 2-year-old and a baby, and I just, so I wonder when I'm sending Sandy, my youngest, off, if I'm just going to say, okay, or I'm going to say, I have freedom from 9 to 3.
And the thing is, whichever way that you feel is right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you feel freedom, yay. If you feel sad, yeah, not yay that you're sad, but it's like, that's how that's what I love. Like you get to choose how you feel about it. And you don't have to compare how you feel about it toward me. And I don't have to go, well, oh no, they're sad. Now I have to be sad, and that's the freedom and the beauty in it. It's like, you get to be how you are, you absolutely do, and enjoy it.
Talk to us about leaning into our emotions. I heard you talk about, was it your husband or your son that got in a car accident?
My husband.
Your husband gets in a car accident. You get you figure out all the details, and then you get on social media to numb.
Yeah. Yep. That is exactly. He was in an accident. He was driving a what do you call them? Like the trail, the big ones.
Like a semi?
I cannot. The semi. I'm like,
I
when
don't
I tell
know.
you, the semi. Okay, so he's into other driving now. So I'm like, wait, what were you driving then? A semi, and it overturned and went across a median into oncoming traffic. Like it was a huge thing, right? Looking at the pictures, it doesn't look like anyone survived. In fact, when the emergency responders came, they were looking for someone, in their words, to peel off the pavement because they've seen this enough before, right? So this was a huge thing. And he called me. He was on his way to the hospital. He called and told me what was going on. I didn't even realize how bad it was, but he called and told me. I was just like, okay. And I got off the phone and I just got on social media as if it didn't happen. Like, okay, well, I need to go to this time. I need to be, let me figure out what's going to happen to the kids. And it was just like, I needed to turn off. I didn't need to. I was choosing to turn off how I felt about it, which was a huge wake up call for me. And I realized that's Keli, that's how you operate.
Mm-hmm.
You see the thing, you make the plan, and you execute the plan, but you give yourself an opportunity to feel what's happening. And that was a wake up call. That absolutely was like, girl, your husband just got into a serious accident here. Yes, you have the details worked out, but pause and deal with the emotion of it all. And so I found myself since that time reminding myself to pause. It's okay to pause and to feel it even while I'm dealing with it, to feel it, even if I don't know how to deal with it. But that was just something that may come as we talk about what comes naturally for people. Work operating in my feelings is not natural for me. It's seriously not. I'm like, no, I'll feel all that later. What needs to happen?
Yeah.
Because how I feel about it is not going to help this, you know. But the thing is, rather, that with that, those feelings go somewhere. When they go somewhere undealt with, it is a very unhealthy situation. So that was a wake up call for me. And that was about a little over 2 years ago.
It's just like the world we live in now. I sometimes wonder, I'm happy to be where we are, but like I'm sometimes like, what if I was growing up in like the 80s and I was parenting then with like no social media, no phone attachment? How much more present would I really be? And just the fact of the matter is like, talk about numbing emotions. Like I have to go every 6 months and get a checkup because I'm BRCA positive, story short. So I have to get my ovaries checked every 6 months. Every single time I go sit in the doctor's office, as soon as I'm free to myself, I'm get on my phone, scrolling through social media to distract myself and to like numb out what I'm really like that anxiety. But I know that if I like sit and processed it and like did the deep breathing and like felt it, I'd probably be managing it a lot better.
Yeah. And you mentioned just about social media. And for the first 3 years as a mom, I did not have social media. And so when I look back, I'm always thankful for those 3 years because once you get on, once you're in here, it's just a whole situation. But I didn't hop on social media until my third child. So by that point, you can't really, not that I know everything, but I'm not relying on people to tell me what to do, kind of a thing. And I always say I am very grateful for that time because you talk about being present, and just things like that, and not having that opportunity to numb what's happening, but actually having to sit in it and deal with it. So yeah, it's whew.
I know. I'm like, Lindsay, put some music on, do something,
Something.
Read a book even. I mean, I don't know if that's numbing, but it just feels like a different kind of, feels like a safer escape than scrolling on social media.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about you going back to work. When did that happen?
You will never believe this. This happened right in the middle of COVID.
Oh, beautiful.
So August 2020. So I have been home for 11 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I think at that point. So I was not looking to go back to work full time. I'd been working part time as just so I could be in the same school as my kids and stuff. And I contacted my principal to let him know I'm not even going to do the part time thing anymore because this new thing called COVID we don't know this and and I just don't like this and et cetera, et cetera. And he paused and he said, "Oh, that makes what I was going to ask you a bit of a moot point." And I was like, "What were you going to ask me?" and that's when he was telling me about this 5th grade position at my school. So I was calling to quit. I was absolutely calling to quit. And so when he told me that, it was just like, it was a lot. My husband and I talked like over the weekend. We were praying about it, just trying to understand how this would truly impact our family. It was quite a decision. It was quite a decision. And for 3 years previous to that, every year I was always offered a job. Would you like to work full time? And I always said, I cannot, because when I am an amazing educator by day, I'm a horrible mom at night. And I said no for 3 years. And then this particular season, I was looking at the ages of my children. At that time, my youngest was in 3rd grade. My oldest was in 7th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Yeah. He was going to 7th grade. And I'm like, well, we're in a different place now, versus maybe pre-K and, 5th grade or whatever. And we decided that even just for our family that we'll go ahead and I went back. Love it. I absolutely love it. I'm excited. I teach 5th grade. I I just love it. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I'm doing it. I don't want anybody to think she quit. I'm glad I'm doing it. I'm glad to have this opportunity. It is an incredible adjustment. And I keep saying the word mom guilt, but that's what's constantly in my mind of being aware of and having to use the very tools that I share with other women in my own life currently every day. But yeah, going back to work was like, I'm glad I did. And I've also learned, I'm learning more.
Hey everybody, a quick break here. I want to tell you about this lash therapy that I've been using for 6 months now. It is made by Hello Skincare, and I've always felt like my eyelashes weren't super healthy and I could never figure out a way to make them feel more full. And actually, when I first started trying this product, I really was skeptical. I did not think it would actually work. And I cannot believe what it has done for my eyelashes. I've never worn fake eyelashes or anything like that. I'm not a big makeup person, but I did know that I didn't like how my eyelashes looked. And so I tried this out. This is a deep conditioning lash serum. It uses a unique blend of peptides, vegan stem cells, vitamins, and amino acids to fortify and amplify the appearance of lash length and fullness. It's crazy how much it's changed my eyelashes, and I'm not just saying that. I cannot believe the difference this has made. I've never tried another product. I've never tried any sort of lash product to help grow my eyelashes and make them longer and fuller, but this stuff works. Now, you got to give it 30 to 60 days. Within 30 days, you start seeing results. In 60 days, you really start seeing results. And now I can't go back. So you all can go check it out. Go to helloskincare.com. And when you use the code LindseyH20, that's LINDSEY H20, you can save 20% off your order. They also have a C Juvenate Super Serum and a Time Machine Super Serum. I use both of those as well. But if I had to start at one, if I just wanted to buy one product from them, I would definitely start with that lash therapy. Let me know what you think if you try it out. Again, that's helloskincare.com. Use the code LindseyH20. All right, friends, enjoy the rest of my conversation with Keli. Let me ask you this about mom guilt. I think about this a lot because my husband doesn't have dad guilt.
Correct. He never will.
Yeah. I think I do a pretty good job with it, but I think we most often fight, my husband and I, when I go do something for myself, and it's not even that he's trying to stop me. It's that my guilt pushes off resent because I'm afraid he's going to resent that I'm gone, and then I feel guilty leaving the kids. So then I'm automatically snippy, and he's like, "What are you doing? What? Go run or whatever,
Yeah.
And I think it's all because subconsciously I feel guilty for leaving.
Yes, and the dads don't. They'll go work out, not have a problem. They'll, whatever. And it's truly just so men and women are different.
Yeah.
That does not mean we have women are of lesser value or even greater value. We are simply different. And it's okay that we're different. So physiologically we're different. And we got to just know that. And as we talk about the way we're naturally made, most women are made to be a nurturer. So just even the shape of our body, the hips, the breasts, we are physically that's how we're created. Men, it doesn't mean we can't protect, but just men are not necessarily naturally a nurturer. And so while I can leave and go, I'm so glad you love running. I love running too. Well, I can leave and go for a run and have a whole Rolodex of things and reasons and why I have to rush back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He can leave and do whatever and it not happen. So we miss each other when I'm going through these emotions and he doesn't get it.
Right.
Right. Or when he's not going through the emotions and I'm mad.
Right.
You don't feel bad kind of a thing. So it's stepping back and realizing, okay, again, as I was saying before, I've got to separate what's actually happening, what I'm feeling. My husband is not my enemy. My husband and I are different. If we were the exact same person, one of us would not be necessary. We're different. We're going to feel things differently. We need to operate within those differences, but he's not going to measure up to my level of quote unquote guilt.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. but then to that same extreme, I may not bear the pressure or the weight that he carries as far as the overall good of our home. But just however it's working out, it's just not going to be the same. And I can't fault him for that.
Yeah.
And it took some years.
It's hard
to really understand, because I can't understand why you don't feel this way. Like, the kids belong to us. Can we share the emotional burden? And
Yes.
to some degree, we can. But at the end of the day, I'm still mom, and that's just going to hit differently.
Yeah. I mean, and it's it even goes down to little things like if I'm trying to get my interviews done or whatever and like pick people up from school, and then I'm like, the kitchen's also messy, I need to do that. He can just not care about the kitchen. It's not to say he won't clean it up when he has time, but that's not bothering him. Like, he can just live his life. And I'm just thinking, I got to get the kitchen clean. You know what I mean?
The word unbothered.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I don't understand why you're unbothered. I do not understand. Like the other day, let me just tell you, the other day, I was just like, but I can't think because there's just so much clutter. And he's just like, oh, she's in one of those moods again. I mean, how can you think? How can you think when there's clutter? Yeah.
It's
unbothered.
it's like the statement when people are like, oh, just let the dishes pile up and enjoy the moment. It's like, but I can't enjoy the moment if the dishes are piled up.
That's all. I was just like, some people can.
Yeah.
I'm not some people. And so realizing that too, because now going back to just when the kids were little, that was the verbiage. Mm-hmm. And it was, I think the popular thing was, my kitchen floors are sticky, but I have happy kids or something. And I'm like, this sticky floor.
But I'm not happy.
Right. And so learning, hey, that's okay. I do know people who can operate like that. I can't. So we need to clean these floors so that we can all understand that I need to be happy too.
Yes.
But just knowing, hey, it's different. That's if nothing else, just knowing that we are different. We're different. We're going to be different from other moms. We're going to be different from our spouse. And then that's okay. Different does not mean bad. Right. So sometimes when I see different, I cast a negative light on myself. Like, where is my deficit?
Yeah.
Is there really a deficit, or am I different? So
tell us, Keli, about your, the podcast. I know you used to co-host, and then also just your ministry and motherhood in general. Like, what is, and you're working, you're back to working in the classroom full time. So how are you balancing those two things? What does the motherhood ministry look like right now?
Oh, that is such a good question. So I don't think it'll ever balance out. It's not going to balance out. So I like to operate in seasons. What can I do in this season, and how can I make it work? So the big thing right now is my job. So that's taking up the bigger part of my time. However, my heart's cry is for women. Mm-hmm. Right. For moms, particularly with children in the home. And that is my desire, is to equip moms to be that best mom for your child. And in order to carry that out in this particular season I'm in, I've got to find those pockets, like those days off of no school, like today, in a couple of weeks when we're on spring break. I have 2 speaking engagements lined up in the summer, just different things where every time there is just a pocket that I'm able to be very intentional about pouring into moms, and not in an overwhelming way. So I have 2 days off from school. Oh, sure. 45-minute meeting. Absolutely. Instead of, well, I'm going to spend those 2 days, going all in. So just really understanding I can find a pocket of time here and still do what I do well and still connect. And these past 2 years of being back in the classroom and still managing ministry and motherhood, number one is learning that the ministry continues. I don't necessarily have to have a platform. Whenever I speak to a mom of a student in my class, looking her in the eye and saying, you have a good kid. You've done so well. As we talk about the behavior issues, or as we talk about the grades or the academia or any concerns they may have, I want to look you in the eye and tell you how well you've done. And the number of times I've done that, and just out of sincerity, and the tears and the emotional moments that I've had just simply talking to a mom, I'm constantly reminded this is also ministry. You're coming in contact with parents on a totally different level. Parents are responding to you when they don't necessarily respond to anybody else in the school. Parents whose children are not in your class are coming to you. So that platform is still there. And then when I have an opportunity to chat with friends like Lindsay or to, go to a retreat or speak on a platform, that's there as well. So it's understanding that the platform is not only behind a microphone, but living it out day by day. And then also just simply being realistic, saying, okay, life is busy. For me, Saturdays are my day that I do absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. For me to schedule something on a Saturday, I'll go, okay, that means I need to make sure I have 3 more Saturdays before anything else happens.
Yeah.
Because what I realize is I operate very, I'm high functioning, right? But in order for me to be as high functioning, my rest has to it has to measure up as well. And so when I say I do nothing, my children don't even see me on Saturday. I peek out and come downstairs to do something. Like, it is an understood thing that I am doing nothing, but I'm refueling. We're going to have our family day on Sunday. We're going to have our breakfast. We're going to go to church. We're going to do our family night. We're going to go back and do all the things on Monday too. But Saturdays, and recognizing that that's where I am now.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like that when I was not working full time. I could just whatever. So just saying, okay, I am a high functioning person. I need to make sure my rest matches my function, and I need to make sure my communication matches my rest and my function so that I can operate in a way that's healthy. And what would be quote unquote called balance, but I'm like, it is really not balance. It's not balanced at all, but I do want to be healthy, and I want to make sure the main thing is the main thing. If I say my family is my biggest priority, I need to demonstrate that. Taking care of myself, just all the things that we say and we know to do. I am in the fire of, you need to not just know what to do. You need to do what you know. And the way I'm living right now is like, girl, live it out. You say this, do it. You've shown this, do it again. You encourage women to do it, demonstrate it. And that's what's happening right now.
I love the thought process of like, this is where it is now. Like, as far as like talking to the parents at your school and stuff, like I'm just like living it out in my everyday life. This is where my ministry is going. Yeah. What do you do on Saturdays? Like, do you watch Netflix? Do you read books?
Sometimes Netflix, sometimes just scrolling my phone. Sometimes I make a reel. I do my reels on Saturdays.
Why do why are they so freaking time consuming?
I don't know.
Drives me crazy.
The perfectionist in us, I'm going to say, because if it doesn't have to be perfect, it won't take very long, but it's going to take a long time because that has to match up. I eat whatever I want to eat.
Love it.
Yeah. And actually, like, I do a bounce class, which I have to get up for, and I have to talk myself into, like, I love the class, but I'm like, Saturday is the only day I don't have an alarm. Right. And so I naturally will get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I'm like, I don't want to have to go anywhere. But just anything that I just feel like doing.
Yeah, that's so good. I know that's pretty much my natural alarm clock too. I don't set an alarm because I don't have to be. Our kids go to school at 9.
Oh,
it's a long freaking morning. It is a long morning. So I don't set an alarm because I usually naturally wake up at like 6. Yeah. But there's.
Do your kids get up early?
The oldest gets up the earliest, like around 6. So it's fine. And the other ones get up about 7. But it's just like a long morning of roughhousing and Nerf guns and all the things before 9 a.m. before you go, Wow. But yeah, same for me on the weekend. Like, I naturally get up about 6, but I don't want to commit to anything before 9.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up here. I've been excited about this interview all day because I just knew that you would bring so much like enthusiasm and joy. So this has been really fun, and I always hate to wrap up when it's fun. Before we do end a podcast though, like what is your thing? Like when you get on stage and you see a group of like when you have a plan for a talk and sometimes it goes another direction because you're like the audience is feeling something different. Like what is your heart want to say to like a woman in the audience? Like picture the couple thousand people listening to this like in front of your face. Like what does your heart want to say to them?
Oh, that is such a good question. My heart would say that you are the best mom for your child. Lean into that. Absolutely lean into that. And because of that, as you're doing the best that you can for your child, you do not bear the weight or the responsibility of the outcome. We do what we do. We do it well. We do it with mistakes. There will be mistakes. Mistakes don't mean you're a failure, but you don't carry the responsibility of it. A lot of times, the weight that we feel is I am responsible for every wrong thing my child has done, or my child is doing, or this decision that's being made, and we're not. You do not bear the weight of it. So in that, embrace it. Embrace a season. Also understand there is some tough stuff. There's some tough stuff. And just because I'm embracing it, meaning I'm accepting the fact that it's happening, does not mean I'm going to enjoy it. So when it comes to the diapers, or when it comes to my child is making decisions that I'm like, what made you do that? Or they got on this particular site, or they've said this thing at school, just the real stuff that's happening. It's not a reflection of me as a person, but rather this is a decision that they have made. I am here to correct. I am here to walk alongside, but I don't bear the weight of the responsibility of the outcome. I get to be a player in their story. I get to be a key player, but I don't bear the weight of it. So I would just encourage moms to release yourself of that expectation that you bear the full weight. And then that will free you up to really find those pockets of enjoyment, and that will free you up to be able to love on them and to launch them as we release this weight of it's all up to me. It's all up to me, because it's not.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that. That is needed because I'm not to the big problems yet. I'm just not. My oldest is 9. I know they're coming.
Yeah.
But I need to go into it with that mindset. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is something professionally or personally that you would like to do that you haven't done yet?
Write a book.
Yes. Love it.
Write a book, yeah.
Yes. On what you just said?
Yeah. Something with motherhood. I've been playing around with this idea for probably 8 years now.
Okay.
And I start stuff and I finish it. And I'm like, at some point I got to finish it. I have to start, or I have to finish. It's been started. I have to finish.
Yeah.
So that would be the thing.
What is the best, most recent book you've read?
Ooh, I am reading Jamie Grace's book, Finding Quiet. It is so, so good. I was trying to be done by last week. I'm like, for my birthday, I'm going to finish the book. I haven't finished. I'm almost there, but it's just really good. And I think the subtitle is Her Journey to Find. Oh, here it is. Her Journey to Finding Peace in an Anxious World. So it's like there's so much going on, but just, and it's good.
I need that. I've heard her on a couple podcasts. I need that book. Okay, thank you for that. Do you have a kids book you recommend?
So this is an older one, but Priscilla Shire's Prince Warrior series.
Okay.
That book one for my kiddos was a hit. And
What's
they were
the age?
I was gonna say at the time they were, I think that's 3rd grade to 7th grade.
Okay.
Kind of that was about the age range, but it was just kind of part of our dinner time. We just read a chapter and I was surprised that the older ones got into it as much as they did, but they did.
I am just now we're reading Harry Potter. Okay. And it's like this is the first time I've read a chapter book with the kids. We did just read one Hardy Boy book. Now we're reading Harry Potter, and I'm like, this is so fun.
Yes.
When it's a book that you can kind of get into too as the adult.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then you can talk about it, and I'm already really excited to watch the first movie together.
Yeah.
Which my little guys it's a little over their heads. Thankfully, though, they just kind of fall asleep as I read. So I'm like, perfect. And the big boys, they stay awake and listen. So it's good. Okay. What is a trip or an adventure that you've done with your family that you'd recommend?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, man. we tend to do smaller adventures kind of thing, and they just seem to be more fun. So like here in Indiana, the dunes. So something like that's 2 hours away, but there's water and there's shells and something like that. So we're very do it small and it becomes a big deal type of a. But I think about that, and I also think we went to Wisconsin Dells one year. Each summer we do like a 2 to 3 days something for our family, and that was good. But I realized with my kids, it's just anytime we go somewhere, whether we're going to the dunes or whether we're going to Wisconsin or Alabama or wherever, it's just always a big. We do the same thing all the time. So we're going to play the alphabet game in the car. We're going to watch this particular movie. It's just the whole idea. They're easy to please, and they are really easy to please. So we can go down the street and they're like, whoa, let's go.
Yeah, any adventure can be an adventure. Yeah, I love that. It can be an
adventure, yeah.
I don't normally ask this one on this podcast. I usually ask it on my running podcast, but I feel like you'll have a fun answer. Who's someone fun, motivating, or inspiring you would like to have coffee, tea, or cocktail with?
Oh, that's a good one too. You know what? I got to go back. I'm going to sound like a super fan, but this is 100% true. It would be Jamie Grace.
Oh, I love it.
It absolutely would be. She's got this wit and this sense of humor and this sarcasm that we just vibe, right? And so it's like, yeah, we need to go to coffee. Jamie, are you listening? We need to go to coffee.
Come on, Jamie. Yeah, she sings, right? She's a singer, right? Yes. Okay. Did she have a baby recently?
Yeah, she has a 2-year-old.
So maybe she is listening.
Right.
Send it to her. Send her the podcast. Get her on. Okay, what's your last message to leave with the audience today? I know we kind of asked that already with like, what do you love to say? But I always wrap up with that question.
Girl, do your thing. That's really it. Just enjoy the ride. It's okay when it gets bumpy. It's okay to say it's bumpy, but just do the thing.
Do the thing. Love it. Keli, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great. My jaws are hurting from smiling. You brought a smile to my face. So
I knew this was going to be fun. And I knew I was like, I know I'm bugging you, but I'm going to keep trying to get you on. All right. Well, have fun. Enjoy the rest of your day off. Thanks for doing this on your day off. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Bye, Keli. Hey everybody, thanks so much for being here today. Thanks Keli for coming on the show. You all can learn more about Keli. Her Instagram is Ministry and Mothering. Go check her out. She will bring you some joy when she pops in on her Instagram stories. She's always bringing the energy. It's really fun. You can find me personally on Instagram. I'm Lindsay Hine 626. You can find this podcast on Instagram. It is Why Is Everyone Yelling? And we would love to have you join our Facebook group as well. It's called Why Is Everyone Yelling? If you ever have any questions or suggestions or just anything at all you want to talk about, you can email me. I am Lindsay at sandyboyproductions.com. You can also learn more about this podcast network, Sandy Boy Productions, when you go to sandyboyproductions.com. We've got 3 other shows in the network right now that we would love to have you check out if you are interested. All right, everything we talked about will be in the show notes at sandyboyproductions.com. If you go there and click on Why Is Everyone Yelling, you can then sign up for our newsletter so those show notes can be emailed directly to you every single week, so that if there's a book or anything we talked about that interests you, you can just get that delivered to your inbox. And I promise we don't spam you with a bunch of other stuff either. So, all right, friends, I hope you're having a great day. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next week on Why Is Everyone Yelling?